And happy is he to whom the memories of childhood bring only fear and sadness. Wretched is he who looks upon awed watches in twilight groves of grotesque, vine-encumbered trees that silently wave twisted branches far aloft. Such a lot the gods gave to me. To me! And yet I am strangely content and cling desperately to those sear memories when my mind momentarily threatens to reach beyond to the other. I know not where I was born, except that the house was infinitely old and horrible, and there was an accursed smell everywhere, as of the piled up corpses of dead generations. There was one grim door that filled me with such dread that I dared not approach it. I must have lived years in this place, but I cannot measure the time. I do not recall hearing any human voice in all these years, not even my own. My aspect was a matter equally thought of, for there were no mirrors in the house. I would often lie and dream for hours about what I read in the books, and would longingly picture myself amidst happy crowds in the sunny world beyond the endless forest. Once I tried to escape from the forest, but as I went farther from the house, the shade grew denser and the air more filled with brooding fear, so that I ran frantically back, lest I lose my way in a labyrinth of nighted silence. Through endless twilights I dreamed and waited, though I knew not what for. Then, in my solitude, my longing for freedom grew so frantically that I could rest no more. And at last I resolved to breach the door that has plagued my sanity. The path to the door felt like falling into the void. Shining was the moon, which I had never before seen except in dreams, and in vague visions I dared not call memories. Most diabolical of all shocks is that of the abysmally unexpected and grotesquely unbelievable. There, stretched around me, was nothing less than solid ground, decked and diversified by marble slabs and columns. As I continued to stumble along, I became conscious of a kind of fearsome, latent memory that made my progress not wholly fortuitous. Hours must have passed before I reached what seemed to be my goal, a house, maddeningly familiar, yet new to me all the same. I had never seemingly heard human speech before, and could guess only vaguely at what was said. As I stepped into the room, what had been my single bright moment turned into my darkest nightmare. The nightmare was quick to come. There occurred immediately one of the most terrifying demonstrations I had ever conceived. As I stood in the room alone and dazed, listening to their vanishing echoes, I trembled at the thought of what might be lurking near me, unseen. At a casual inspection, the room seemed deserted, but when I moved toward one of the alcoves, I thought I detected a presence there. A hint of motion beyond the doorway led me to another similar room. It was then I sensed the presence more clearly. It was the ghoulish shade of decay, antiquity, and desolation, the putrid, dripping eidolon of unwholesome revelation, the awful bearing of that which the merciful earth should always hide. God knows it was not of this world. I found myself throwing my hand up to ward off the fetid thing which grew closer. I knew in that second all that had been. I recognized, most terrible of all, the unholy abomination that stood leering before me as I withdrew my sullied fingers from its own. In a daze, I fled from that haunted and accursed house and ran swiftly to the moonlight and returned to the dreaded door that brought me here. I found the stone door immovable, but I was not sorry, for I had hated that antique house. And now I ride with the mocking and friendly ghouls in the night wind, and play by day amongst the catacombs. I know that light is not for me, save that of the moon over the rock tombs. In my new wilderness and freedom, I almost welcome the bitterness of alienage. For although Nepenthe has calmed me, I know always that I am an outsider, a stranger in this century and among those who are still men. This I have known ever since I stretched out my fingers to the abomination within that great gilded frame, and stretched out my fingers and touched the cold and unyielding surface of polished glass.